Hey folks, Barry the Beer Guy here with ibuyoldbeer, and we're going to try something new tonight. Headphones. I can literally be right in your ear. My ear too. I'm down here in my mental hot tub, the beer room. I just come in here, look around, and smile. This stuff puts a smile on my face, and there's a lot of memories behind it. I was thinking it might be time for a video. Well, what should we make a video on? How about kind of a forgotten and neglected brewery on Marshall Avenue in Minneapolis? It began in 1849, I believe, because I know I have a book celebrating their 100th anniversary in 1949, Glick's Brewing Company. Now, a lot of people, I know if they're not a collector, they'll call you up and say, hey, I got a wood case from Gluek's. Well, they don't know how to pronounce it. It is Glick's. It's the beer that speaks for itself. Why do they call it that? Because when you poured it out of the bottle, it would go or glick, glick, glick. We're going to take a little tour here in the beer room and look at some small items and kind of wrap our collective heads around a predominant Minnesota brewery that sold out to G.Heileman, I believe, in 1964. So G.Heileman, like all their brands, tried to put out a pale imitation of it and basically destroyed all the history of the brewery and gave it a go for 3 or 4 years with G.Heileman branded Glick beer. But I love Glicks because when I was a kid, it was every kid's dream to get a cone top in their collection. And my dad came home from Nickel Pete's, a general mercantile store. Those are a thing of the past. Kind of a hardware all-in-one store in Hayfield, Minnesota. When he went to take hogs to Hormel, yeah, I'm a farm kid, he stopped in there and asked for his son, do you have any beer stuff or beer cans? And the old guy, who was getting cataracts in both of his eyes, went behind the counter and pulled out a 6-pack of Glicks. I've still got that container. I think that's a good reason for a tour. Ready? Let's go. Here's the first 6-pack. Well, first 6-pack I ever had. I didn't even really have a cone top until my dad brought these home. But these cans are called Silver Growlers. And they're a 2-piece can, this top extruded metal and the concave bottom, sealed with a cap. They could be run through existing bottling lines, so they didn't have to invest in specialized canning machinery. You'll see on the back, Silver Growler, the beer that speaks for itself. And then they also have different alcohol content on this particular can. But they call this can the Maroon Stripe Crowntainer. And my dad brought home 6 of these from Nickel Pete's, still full and sealed. He poured one, click, 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 into a glass and actually wanted to sample some, but the floaties kind of turned him off. These orange head guys were originally developed in the 1930s and then resurrected again in the 1950s in a series of advertisements. But these Crowntainers, or Silver Growlers as they are called, also came in a blue striped Crowntainer, which this is a really pretty can. I just love the color scheme, the simplicity of it. And this one is marked strong. And there are also, I believe, internal revenue tax paid on the back of some of these. Let's see, that one doesn't say it. Well, since it doesn't say internal revenue tax paid, these are made post 1951. Now here is the final Crowntainer. This is a paper label Crowntainer. This was actually stuck on a black striped can. And there's also a Jordan Crowntainer, kind of a generic can, and the paper label was stuck on. If you ever want to know if a can is fake, look in the small print there. Brewed and filled at Glick Brewing Company. Now, people will take bottle labels and put on there, and it will say brewed and bottled, and that is not the original label on this. But this is a strong version with the cap, and those are the 3 Glick Crowntainers. I apologize for the lighting here, but now bring on the Glicks in handy Silver Growlers. 6-0 Glicks. Those Crowntainer cans were put in here. This was flipped out as kind of a point of purchase display, a 3D display. Good spot. Bring on the Glicks. 6 of Glicks. And now this is kind of cool. This was found in the file folders of Bill Whitbeck, who was the vice president of advertising for Glick's from 1949 to 59. And here you'll see all the orange head guys in their Glick truck, even a poster on the back of the truck. We've laid our bricks, bring on the Glicks. And they had a series of, I think, 5 or 6 of those posters with a rhyme. But what was cool is this poster, and you can see the folds in it, was folded up in an 8.5 by 11 file folder along with the reference picture for the truck, the artist to paint the trucks accurately. So I mounted the black and white photo that was found in the same file as this poster, and you can see they did a stylized illustration of those trucks. But I just love, like their cans, the simplicity, the color scheme, and the fact it came from the archives of Bill Whitbeck. There's Bill's card from Glick Brewing Company. He probably wore this name tag at this event, the Minnesota Beer Wholesalers event. And I believe in 1959, Glick did the glasses for the wholesalers event. In here you can see, sorry about that, a bridge coaster, and there's a ball knob back there, a Glick ball knob. Those are fairly tough. Down here, 3 different match safes. They're all variations. If you look at the fine print, I'm not going to detail them. In there also, these are called foam scrapers, and they were discontinued, but a bartender would have them behind the bar, and when a beer was poured and the head was wiped off using these plastic popsicle sticks, they were called foam scrapers. Here's a full-size business card from Louis Glick. 2 different pocket mirrors. Now I bought one thinking it was an upgrade, but you'll look at the type. On the right one, it is blue or green, and then you'll also see the small detailed lettering, Minneapolis, Minnesota on the left, then the telephone on the right. So those are different variations. And here is a full-size business card also from Glick, so you can see the matchbook in comparison. But that is a thing of beauty with its color, layout, graphics. It's almost like a mini lithograph in my book. I love these old business cards. Right after Prohibition, I believe during Prohibition, when no amount of alcohol or beer was allowed, they had a Pilsner Pale. Now, it was a cereal beer or near beer, but since it was popular during the timeline of 1919 through 1933, they introduced Pilsner Pale beer, piggybacking on the Pilsner Pale name. And so this bottle is a U permit number, which puts it after Prohibition in the early to mid 30s. And here would be a bottle topper. The top of the bottle would go in this hole, and it would display above the bottle, showing that food was great with Glick beer. Now we're going to pan up here to the Pilsner Pale tin sign. And I've upgraded this a couple times. It does have a chunk out of the corner, but that's a tough sign to find. Being that it's from 1930s. Now we'll finish down here with more of the orange head guys. These were also found in Bill Whitbeck's file folders. We've laid our bricks, bring on the Glicks, the same as the tail end of that beer truck. We've done our licks, painters, bring on the Glicks, and we've sawed our sticks, bring on the Glicks. And then also in the file folder was the original order form for these little back bar signs, so I mounted that in the poster. Down here we have the 6-sided brewer's star with Enjoy Glick's beer. This matches the color scheme and layout of the early low-profile cone tops. This is the first Glick beer can made, I believe it was 1935 or so. They had to prove that beer was a viable liquid to go into cans, and cans were new at that time. The earliest ones were flat tops. Kruger Brewing Company of New Jersey went all in with a canning line, but a lot of brewers didn't want to invest in this new canning technology, so they ran these low-profile cone tops through their bottling equipment and capped them with a crown. But you can see them, open it like a bottle, drink from it. If you wish, when empty, throw it away. No empties to return, no extras or deposits. And this can is metallic, so it's very prone to condition issues. I'm I'm really happy that I have this can because it's a tough one to get. And previously to upgrading to this one, I had a dumper that was found in a dump and only partially readable. But this is their first one, probably 1935 or so. And this is the next can that came along in both a concave bottom and a flat bottom. But this is called the Baby Blue Low Profile can. And it's similar to the previous one, except a painted can, and has the same backside on it. A U permit, that would be from the 30s, like that bottle that I showed you. But this one is a raised rib around the cone top. There's also an inverted rib. And this one doesn't have the original. That is the cap that goes on it, but this one is a resealable cap for a bottle. But it's in nice shape, matches. I put it on there. These are the two Glick low-profile cone-top cans. After those Crowntainer cans or silver growlers that I showed you, these flat-top cans came out. And these were opened by piercing the top lid with what they called a church key opener, like you'd use on a high-C drink can or an oil can. You would punch 2 holes so the beer would flow out smoothly. But Glick went with a different layout. Instead of the script, they went with this type style here with serifs on it and fine Pilsner beer, and this Griffin type thingy, which it lasted quite a long time. But this is a 6-pack of the Glick flat top cans. Not a whole lot to look at, but in 1951, Glick won a beer competition over in Belgium. It was named America's Finest Beer. From the first prize brewery, they called themselves, and a consulate. Here was, well, not kind of hard to see, but the beer exposition that they won this first prize. So in 1951, I think they broke out special. They made an exception, and they started their ad campaign in February, where they would have started later in the year because they won this. And they flew the consulate over to present this award and branded all of their advertising with this special acclaim that they got, America's Finest Beer. It lasted for, I think, 3 years at the most. So if you see anything with this first prize on it, it's from 51 to 53. Also, a product that Glick had during that time was Glick's Stite. And I think this was made originally in 1940s, but it was a malt liquor. And this was the original Green Death. I read a market study concerning Glick's Stite, where a guy went into different bars from the brewery and just did a survey of bartenders. But some of the comments were, if a guy's drinking Glick's Stite, you got to babysit him. You know, a normal guy will have 3-4 beers, but if a guy has 3-4 of these, you're carrying him out of the bar. And this 8-ounce can is called a highball size, and they advertised it as such, but this was a strong beer, and it brought down many people and induced a few headaches in its time. Here's what the brand looked like after Heileman bought it. Probably 1965 or 66. They, of course, branded it prominently with their House of Heileman logo, and it was kind of neglected and went by the wayside until being purchased, I believe, by Cold Spring, maybe in the 70s or 80s. But here was the 16-ounce Stite can, a pull tab from Heileman Brewing Company in Lacrosse that bought the Glick brand, and I'm just not fond of this advertising here, and it was kind of a sad demise of a once outstanding, vibrant Minneapolis brewing. And to close out our Glick tour, we'll just take a brief little peek at some of the small items that Glick had. There's some of the first prize advertising items. That can is a cooler sticker, reverse on glass, oval with their Stite. They did have a Bach beer introduced in the spring. Here are the figural orange head back bar pieces. The guy with the mug is much tougher than the guy with the bottle that I'll show you further down the line. These signs are composite signs made during World War II when metal was rationed, so they turned to different substances like composite. And here are bottle caps and various openers in this case. And those flat openers are used for bottles. The ones over on the right-hand side were used to pierce the little cans, the lid of cans. Here are promotional salt and pepper shakers. And then there is the figural orange head guy pouring a bottle of summer special. So that guy you'll see 10 times more than you will see the guy with the mug. We'll go up here, show you the weatherbirds, tap knobs, reverse on glass calendar, and various small items from the Glick Brewing Company on Marshall Avenue in Northeast Minneapolis. There's a whole lot more. Wait, let me get over here. That I could bore you with, but I figure that's a good start. If you're out there watching this, some grandmother that has a basement full of Glick stuff, or maybe remodeled a bathroom and found a Glick's can, I'm your guy. If you need to know dates or values, Glick's is kind of the beer that I started out with. Figured I'd do a video on it, do a brief overview. That's all. I could bore you with a whole lot more, but I'm Barry the Beer Guy from ibuyoldbeer.com. We'll see you down the road.